Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allison and this video is take 2 of my May TBR. So, I know, I already made a TBR for the month of May. I already edited it and uploaded it and it's been available for everyone to watch. And then probably like 3 days after I made that video, I decided I didn't want to read any of the books on my May TBR. Welcome to my life as a mood reader. So, today I'm retaking my May TBR video. It's not really like official like May TBR, that's like, these are, I was looking at my unread shelf the other day. This is kind of what sparked this whole thing in the first place. I looked at my, my unread shelf, which is all of the books that I actually own, either physically or audiobook or ebook or whatever. And I was looking at them and I'm like, I still have a lot of books that I purchased in 2020. And if you didn't know, one of my goals or rules for this year and every year following is going to be, if I have a book from the previous year and I haven't read it by the end of the current year, I have to unhaul it. I don't get an option. And that stems from my not wanting to have a huge physical TBR. Like, I literally would love to purchase a book and then read it as soon as I get it. That would just be the best. And I understand you could do that even if you already had a really big physical TBR or whichever, you know, ebook, audiobook, if that's your thing. You could do that anyways, but having a huge TBR gives me like an insane amount of anxiety and actually decreases my reading productivity. So, in the interest of, you know, reading what I want to read and reading more, I try to keep my physical TBR very low. One way, the best way that I have come up to do with that is to get rid of books from a previous year by the end of the current year. So basically that means every book that I purchased in 2020 that I haven't read yet has to be read by the end of 2021, or I have to get rid of them. Now, all of the books that I have on my shelves are books that I at least want to try reading. Like, I want to give them a shot. I want to give it, you know, an effort into reading them. It doesn't always work out that way. I, more often than not, will start reading a book and I'm like, this is just horrible. I don't even want to read it. And usually when I DNF books, I DNF them permanently. I'm not ever going to pick them back up because I don't have time to go back to a book that I previously stopped reading because I wasn't enjoying it. I know that, you know, over time your tastes change, you change, like a lot of things can change, but I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to hold on to books that I tried reading and I didn't like, and I don't want them sitting on my shelves for 8 million years before, you know, I might end up feeling the urge to pick them up again. So usually if I DNF a book, I will DNF it and then I will unhaul it. It either gets sold on eBay or it ends up getting donated to my local library. So, and I don't feel an ounce of guilt about it. It doesn't even bother me. I don't even care. So that is part of the thing that sparked this whole like TBR take 2 thing. Because I was looking at my 2020 books and I was like, man, I have a lot of those left. Like, I want to, you know, put some more emphasis on reading those so that they're not hanging around. And then like all I'm reading in December is my 2020 books because I don't want to unhaul any of them. I want to at least try reading them before I have to give them up. So I had 10 books still left from 2020 that I hadn't read yet, which I know is not that much, but it feels like a lot to me because my reading pace lately has been all over the place. Like, I'll read 1 book a month and then I'll read like 5 books a month. Like, it's just really stupid. And there's no reason for it because it's not like I'm a student. It's not like, you know, I had a break where I could just read all the time and then I had a bunch of, like, a really busy month. Like, that's not my life. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I really literally do the same things every single stinking day of my life. So it's not that. It's not that thing. It's not a scheduling thing. It's just me this year. So I started out with 10 books from 2020 at the end of this week, or at the beginning of this week. And since the beginning of this week, I should say that this, like, the week I'm talking about is like the first full week of May. So like I literally filmed my May TBR and then I was like, I don't want to read those, so I changed it like the 3rd or something. It's really, really dumb. I was like, this is so stupid. Why can't I just read the books that I put on my TBR? But it's whatever. So I started out with 10, and since the beginning of this week, I have unhauled or DNF'd and unhauled 2 books. One I DNF'd and the other one is the sequel, so I just unhauled it. And I'm not going to say what those are because I don't want to get into a discussion about it right now. And that will come later at the end of the month when I do my May wrap up and my June TBR video. So I'm not going to talk about them now. You guys are not going to pressure me into doing it right now. And so that took care of 2, and then I already had 2 of them on my TBR, which was Dune and The Hunter and the Mage, so that takes care of 2 more. I was like, okay, so what books that I have left, which ones do I want to read? And that's kind of what I have going on here. So I'm going to go through them one at a time. And this is going to be my official May TBR. I'm going to be reading most of these books this month, hopefully, fingers crossed, I have time. So the first book I have on my TBR is one that I actually already finished, and if you've seen my weekly update, actually I'm not sure which one's going to go up first, if my reading update is going to go up or if this video is going to go up. I think the reading update will go up first. Anyways, if you've watched that video or if you haven't, this is the first book that I had on my May TBR, and I have thankfully finished it. I did start it in April, and then I like took, I don't know, 3 days off where I didn't read anything, and then so on paper it took me a while to get through this book, but really I read the bulk of it this week, so in like 4 days I got through it. I freaking loved it. It was so good. It got 4 out of 5 stars for me, and I'm not going to talk anymore about that either because I could do that at the end of the month. Don't pressure me. No pressure. Okay. So this book I had on my TBR as the first book of the month, and I have read it already, which is great. That means I'm on schedule. The next book that I have on my May TBR is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a 1920s, like a historical fiction set in Shanghai, China. I don't know if it has any fantasy elements to it. It might be like an urban fantasy kind of thing, or historical fiction fantasy. I know that's like a genre that kind of is a thing, but like not very many people write in it. I wish they would, I would love it. I guess the last historical fiction fantasy book I read was absolutely horrendous and I hated it. I'm not gonna say what it is either because no ranting. Anyways, this video, I clearly need to eat food. This book is the book I'm actually going to pick up next after Dune. I figured I needed something from a completely different genre to read. Dune, I know I forgot to say it, but Dune is an adult sci-fi and it was published in 1965. But I don't really think that has a lot to do with the writing style. After reading it, I feel like the writing style is on purpose and not just a result of the time it was written in. So that is something I'll talk about more in the review video that I'm going to do, and I'm not going to be terrified the whole time. Yes, I am. I'm going to be terrified the whole time I do that. Anyways, this is... what was I going to say about this book? Oh, yes, there are gangsters in this book. It says in here somewhere, I saw the word gangsters. Yes, gangsters. There are gangsters in this book, which I'm really, really excited about. So if you watched a couple of my, I know I at least talked about it in my April wrap-up video, The Left-Handed Booksellers of London by Garth Nix. Ended up not being at all what I thought it was. There were no gangsters in that book, and I was so disappointed. This one has gangsters in it, so I'm actually really excited to read this one, and I'm probably going to start reading it today. Because why not? And then, so that's the second book. The next book I have on my TBR is A Time of Dread by John Gwynne. This is a adult fantasy novel, and it is the first book in his Of Blood and Bone series. It is, I talked about this in my update video as well, it is a new series, but it's set in the same world as his first series, which is called The Faithful and the Fallen. I guess technically you're supposed to read that series first, and I probably should have because maybe the world would make more sense, but I didn't, and I'm starting with this one, and that's okay because I already own this one and I really didn't want to buy another book or another whole series before I got to this one. I just wanted to read it because I already have it. And I've seen people say, like, you don't have to read his first series before you read this, and then there's going to be, like, those crazy diehard fanatics that are like, you have to read the books in chronological published order, and I'm like, I do what I want, and I'm going to read this book first. So if you guys are John Gwynne fans and you are going to get mad at me for reading his series out of order, I'm sorry, but you're not going to find any, I'm not going to change my mind. So moving on. No, I'm just really excited for this book too. I did start reading it. I didn't get very far into it, but I really liked what I was reading. It was interesting. It was holding my attention. I thought this book was better than another book I picked up at the same time, which was A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. I really didn't like that book. And I didn't get very far into that one either. I think like less than 50 pages maybe. But this one was actually, at the time, I think I picked up this one first and I set it down, and then I picked up that one. And I also ended up setting that one down, but I liked this one better. This one was better than that one. So I'm excited to get back into it. I probably am just going to start over because I only made it like 26 pages into it, and I really should start over from the beginning because I feel like that would be, I would probably forget like what was going on and like the setup of the rest of the story, and I don't want to like be always constantly being like, so why is this way, when I could just read the first 26 pages again and be like, oh, that makes sense. So those books are like in the order I'm going to read them in. The next few books are kind of just they're not in order, but it's because of The Hunter and the Mage, and the reason is because I'm buddy reading this with my friend Brianna. And I know I already talked about this on my like first TBR video, but this is a YA fantasy, and it is the second book in the Raven and the Dove series. It's written by Caitlin Davis, and we are going to be buddy reading the entire series together. The third book is about to get released next month, which, yeah, in June, and then I know the fourth book is not coming out until next year, and I'm so sad. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be okay, and I'm gonna wait, even though I think the third book is gonna end on something crazy, some crazy cliffhanger, and it's gonna be insane. But I'm really excited to read this book. I reread the first book last month, and it was good to be reminded of everything that had happened, but I'm really excited to get into this one because it's new and I haven't read it yet. Let's see. The next book I have on my list is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and this is, I want to say it's an adult. Yeah, the price point is telling me it's adult. It's marked for $26.99. That's definitely an adult novel, not a YA novel. So this is the first book in the, I think it's called the Poppy War is it a trilogy? I think there's 4 books out. I'm not 100% sure, but anyways, this is the first book in that series, and I am excited to get to it. I've heard so many great things about it. I just really, I really enjoy Asian-inspired fantasy, and I appreciate that this author is actually Asian and not some white author trying to write about something they don't even understand completely. So I'm very excited to read this one. I have high expectations for it. I mean, okay, so like I have high expectations in the fact that I think I'm going to really like it. So that's what I'm looking forward to on this one. And then the last book I have on my TBR is kind of like a bonus book, and it's just to replace A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie, because I had that one on my TBR and then I took it off because I was like, you know what, I don't like this book. I'm not going to try making myself read it. And my husband's read the first 2 novels in that series. I can't remember what it's called. And he's like, they're alright, they're not that good. So, this is the book that I picked out to replace that one, and it is The Girl in the Stars by Mark Lawrence. This is a new series from him. Is it YA? I can't remember if it's YA. I know sometimes his books, like, people are like, oh, that book's definitely adult, and then other people are like, nah, it was kind of like YA, and I'm like, probably just depends on how many disturbing books you've read in your life. Some readers think that just because a book is not full of like guts and gore and blood that it's not adult, which I think is completely absurd. I think that there's a lot of YA novels that are written with themes in them that should not be in them. I think they should at least be labeled new adult, but they're not, and usually those themes are not handled very well. But that's a rabbit trail that I have I think I've talked about it a couple of times on my channel. It's something that really gets me riled up. So we're just gonna avoid talking any more about it today so this video doesn't end up being a million miles long and not about my May TBR. So the reason I added this one on to the end of my TBR for this month is because the sequel to this just came out last month, I think, or it might have been March. I think it might have come out in March. It's called The Girl in the Mountain, and I want to buy it, but I like purchased this early because I wanted to read it before the second one came out, and then I never did. So I'm gonna read, I really am gonna try my hardest to get through all of these books so that I can read this one this month, and then if I end up liking it, I can get the second novel. Because this is the UK hardcover, I kind of have to buy the second one rather quickly before it goes out of print in hardcover. So that's kind of why I put this on here. I'm just gonna say this is adult fantasy. Based on like his other books. I know a lot of people love his Red Sister series. That's called the Book of the Ancestors. So, and I know like if you get on Goodreads and you look at the tags, like people have tagged it adult and people have tagged it YA. And I honestly am thinking that they're going to be adult novels, kind of like Nevernight by Jay Kristoff gets tagged YA a lot, and I'm like, that's not YA. I've read the entire series and I'm like, that's not, there's no way I would let anyone under the age of like 18 or 17 read that book, depending on their maturity level, because it's not. I'm like, no, that's not a YA novel. I know the main character's only like 17 years old, but that's not YA. It's really gross. So I'm just gonna say this one is adult fantasy just based off of what I know about his other novels and such. So you can argue that point with me all you want, but this is adult fantasy. So I think that's it. That's the last book on my TBR. I'm gonna try to put all of these books back up here without like dropping any of them on the floor. So these are all books that I purchased last year in 2020 and didn't get to. And that was actually because I was trying to get through all of my pre-2020 books that I had purchased. I had a lot last year. That was like the first year where I was like, I need to get rid of or read all of the books from previous years that I had purchased, because I had stuff from like 2017 and 2018 that I hadn't read yet, and I ended up getting rid of most of them because I just wasn't interested in them. I can blame Bookstagram for that one, and websites like Book Outlet for offering books really cheap. So yeah, and then I think if I get through all of those, I mean I already read one, but if I get through all of those this month, I think I'll only have, let's see, 1, 2, I'll only have 2 2020 books left. So I really wanted to read all of my 2020 books this month so that way I could just focus on my new books that I'm getting and such. But I don't know if that's gonna happen. Depends on, you know, how clean I want my house to be or how good I want our dinners to be. So yeah, that's basically what dictates my reading schedule. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this take 2 of my May TBR. This is, I'm really gonna try not to do this very often, but I just was like, I don't want to read any of the books that I had picked out, and it's such a shame because they're all awesome books. A lot of them were rereads, like I had The Two Towers and Golden Sun, and there was one other one that was a reread. I can't remember what. Oh, it was The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon, which is the second novel in the Bone Season series. I love all of those books. Like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read these books, it's gonna be awesome. And then 3 days into May, I'm like, I kind of just want to read books I haven't read yet. Which is completely hilarious. Maybe later in the year I'll get into the mood to read my rereads. I'm not really sure what's going on with me, but we're gonna figure it out. Maybe if I got through all of my unread books I had, then I could just focus on my rereads and it wouldn't bother me. Maybe that's the thing that's keeping me from doing my rereads, because I'm like, but I have all these awesome new books that I just got and they're so shiny and pretty and I just want to read them all right now. Maybe that's the problem. That might be the problem. So anyways, I'm gonna stop talking because I rambled way too long. It's just, this is a thing with me and I apologize. So yeah, I hope that you guys have a lovely day and that you're enjoying whatever it is that you're doing, and I hope to see you guys in another video. Hopefully it's not going to be a May TBR take 3. We're not going to let that happen. We're just going to read the books that I already picked out, because that's why we make TBRs, right? So yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely time, a lovely evening, a lovely morning, whatever it is that you're doing, and I will see you guys in another video. Bye!